Hello and welcome back to video lecture on R microcontroller and embedded system. In today's video, I am going to cover further topics. Typical embedded system. Here you can see the diagram. It consists of system core, which is connected to the input ports. Sensors are the devices which are connected to the input ports. Any physical quantity parameter, if you want to read by a system, that is sensed by the sensor, then data is taken into the system. Other side you can see output ports, and they are connected through the actuators. If I want to do anything to the external devices, uh, I will be doing it to the actuators. So in turn, actuators will perform those particular operations to the output devices. Other than these input ports and output ports, you can see the memory. Memory is required for both storing the software as well as for holding the data temporarily. The system core is FPGA, that is field programmable gate array, or ASIC, that is application specific integrated circuit, or it could be a digital signal processor, or it is a system on chip, or it could be a microprocessor, or it could be a microcontroller. See, along with these things, if I want to communicate my embedded system with the external things, then I have to go for using the communication interfaces. Along with this, I can also have some other supporting integrated circuits and subsystem. Here you can see uh, it is the embedded system is reactive in nature. The reactive in the sense changes in the inputs we are processing by the core of the embedded system, and corresponding output we will be sending to the output devices via the actuators. That's why we call it as a reactive in nature. See, keyboards, push button switches are the examples of user interface for the input devices. LEDs, LCDs, piezoelectric buzzers are the example for the user interface for the output devices. In the memory, as I have told, the memory could be a ROM memory or a RAM memory. ROM memory is read only memory. We cannot modify the code which is present in the ROM memory, whereas we can change the code present in the data memory, that is a RAM memory. There are other types of ROM memory. They are OTP, one time programmable, PROM, programmable read only memory, UV-PROM, ultraviolet erasable PROM, EE electrically erasable PROM, and the flash type. The sizes of these memory varies from few bytes to the megabytes. Along with ROM, we also require RAM to store the data temporarily, and this type of memory is called as a random access memory. Here there are the types like SRAM, DRAM, and NVRAM. SRAM stands for the static RAM, DRAM stands for the dynamic RAM, NVRAM stands for the non-volatile RAM. Again, the sizes of these memories varies from few bytes to kilobytes to megabytes. One difference is there between this RAM and that ROM is that this is a volatile memory. It means that the data which is present in this type memory is erased once the power goes up, whereas in the ROM memory the code stored will not be erased when the power goes off. Then we'll move on to the next topic called core of the embedded system. Embedded systems are domain and application specific, and the center core of the embedded system falls in one of the following categories, that is general purpose and domain specific processors. The processors used in these types could be microprocessors, could be microcontrollers, or digital signal processors. Then we have application specific integrated circuits, then programmable logic devices, then commercial off the shelf components. In this video, we are going to discuss the first type, general purpose and domain specific processors. General purpose and domain specific processors. Almost 80% of the embedded system are processor or controller based. When I say processor or controller, the processor could be a microprocessor or controller could be a microcontroller. Other than these two, it could be a digital signal processing. Depends upon in which domain and which application we are using. For example, in the industrial control and monitoring applications, we are using microprocessors and microcontrollers. Whereas the domains wherein I require signal processing, such as speech coding, speech recognition, I will be using digital signal processors. And these processors are supplied by the companies called Analog Devices, Texas Instruments, etc. Let us begin with the first type in this, that is microprocessor. What is a microprocessor? It is a silicon chip which consists of a CPU, that is central processing unit. As we all know that CPU consists of a arithmetic and logic unit, control unit and the working registers. The arithmetic and logic unit is responsible for performing the arithmetic operations and logic operations. The examples for the arithmetic operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, increment and decrement. The examples for the logic operations are AND operation, OR operation, NOT operation, XOR operation, like that. Control unit is responsible for controlling all the operations of processor. And whenever we are taking data from the external world, we are taking them into internal registers of the microprocessor. Or whenever we want to send data to the outside world, we are doing it through the use of internal registers. So there may be number of internal registers. They are all called as a working registers. Microprocessor is a dependent unit because it requires the combinations of hardware like memory, timer unit, interrupt controller for their proper functioning. It means that it is an IC without the memory in it, in the sense it does not have ROM memory, it does not have RAM memory, it does not include timer in it. The timer unit is responsible for generating the time delay, and it does not have interrupt controller also. This is the controller, in the sense a feature of processor wherein it is used to control the interrupts that are occurring for the request to be processed. So we'll begin with the evolution of the microprocessor. Intel 4004 is the first 4-bit processor released by the Intel company in the year 1971, which had 1 kilobytes of data memory, that is RAM memory, 12-bit PC. PC means program counter. This is a register which is used to hold the address of the next instruction in a program. And it had 4 kilobytes of ROM. Then it had 16 4-bit general purpose registers. 4-bit in the sense the amount of data used by these registers will be of 4-bit size. And it had 46 instructions operated at 740 kilohertz. It was designed for the olden days calculators. In the 1971, Intel came up with another processor called as a 4040. See, all the features of previous processor were there in this one. Along with that, 14 more instructions were added, and instead of 4K program ROM, it is upgraded to 8K ROM. Then the next processor came, that is 8008. It was similar to the 4040, only difference is it is having PC of 14 bits wide. Then in the 1974, Intel launched the first 8-bit processor called as 8080, which has 16-bit address bus and 16-bit PC and 7 8-bit registers. Intel 8080 was the most commonly used for industrial control and other applications. It was bulky and it was lacking compactness. Motorola also entered the market with its microprocessor called 6800 with a different architecture and instruction set. In 1976, Intel again came back with a microprocessor called 8085 with two newly added instruction, three interrupt pins and one serial input or output port. It also had clock generator and bus controller, and the power supply was modified to a single 5 volt supply. In 1976, Zilog company came up with its processor called ZUD80. It was an improved version of Intel's 8080 processor. It means that architecture and instruction set of 8080 processor were used by this, which had 8-bit data bus and 16-bit address bus. But it added 80 more new instructions, and it introduced a new concept called register banking, that is doubling the register set, in the sense increasing the number of registers in a processor. Z80 also included two sets of index registers for the flexible design. Then came 16-bit, 32-bit and 64-bit processors, and their operating frequency was increased from 2 MHz up to 3 GHz with high speed, high performance and low cost features. Intel, AMD, Freescale, Global Foundries, TI, that is Texas Instruments, Cyrix, Nvidia, Qualcomm, MediaTek, these are all the companies of the manufacturing of microprocessors. Intel still leads the market with cutting edge technologies in the processor industry. Different instruction set and architecture are available for the design of processor, and they are Harvard and Van Neumann architecture. Here, Harvard contains separate buses for program memory and the data memory, whereas the Van Neumann architecture is having a single bus for fetching the program memory as well as the data memory. Then based upon the instruction set, there are two types: reduced instruction set computing RISC and complex instruction set computing CISC. And these are the two common instruction set architectures. Then we'll move on to the next type, that is general purpose processor versus application specific instruction set per processor. General purpose processor were designed for general computational tasks. For example, the desktop PC or the laptop, the processor present in that, for example, Pentium 4 or AMD Athlon are the examples of GPP. These are produced in large volumes, and per unit cost for a chip is low compared to the application specific integrated circuits. The general purpose processor contains arithmetic and logic unit and the control unit. Application specific instruction set processors are the processors with the architecture and instruction set optimized for the specific domain or application requirements, such as network processing, automotive, telecom, media applications, digital signal processing, control application, etc. The examples are automotive AVR, Mega AV from the Atmel company, or system on chips, digital signal processors. These two incorporate a processor and on chip peripherals demanded by the application requirement, program and data memory. The next one is microcontrollers. It is a highly integrated chip that contains not only CPU. Along with CPU, it also has some bytes of RAM, some general and special purpose register arrays, group of registers, on chip ROM or the flash memory, had timer, interrupt control and dedicated IO ports. Texas Instruments TMS-1000 is the world's first microcontroller. It was followed Intel's 4004 or 4040 4-bit processor, and it added some amount of RAM, program ROM and IO support on the single chip. Intel 8048 is the first microcontroller by the Intel company. It was used in the IBM PC keyboard. It was low cost and small size, adopted Harvard architecture. In the 1980, Intel came out with 8-bit microcontroller called 8051, which is the most popular and most powerful 8-bit. Due to its low cost, wide availability, memory efficient instruction set, mature development tools, and Boolean processing, that is bit manipulation instructions, this 8051 has become high, high volume consumer electronic devices entertainment industry device, and it is used in the gadgets where cost cutting is essential. PIC came into market with its microcontroller from the microchip technologies. Is a high performance RISC microcontroller. Philips, Atmel, Freescale, Renesas, Zilog, Cypress, Infineon, ST Microelectronics, Epson, Texas Instruments, Toshiba, NXP, Microchip, Unlock Devices, Daewoo, Intel, Maxim, Sharp, Silicon Laboratories, Holtec, Lapis, Cyrod, Atmel, etc. are the key players in the microcontroller market. Instruction set architecture of microcontrollers can be either RISC or CISC, and they are designed either for the general purpose applications or domain or specific applications. Intel 8051 is a general purpose microcontroller, whereas Automotive AVR from the Atmel Corporation is a application specific microcontroller. Then we'll discuss the differences between microprocessor and microcontroller, where microprocessor is having only center processing unit capable of performing arithmetic as well as logical operations, whereas controller along with this ALU, it also has a RAM, ROM, timers or counters, serial communication port, input or output ports, then interrupt control. See here, microprocessor is a dependent unit because it does not have the features I said before, but all are necessary for an embedded system. So all have to be added to this microprocessor. Hence, microprocessor dependent on all these things, whereas these all the things are present on chip with the microcontroller. Then microprocessor most of the times is general purpose because of its design and operation, whereas microcontroller is application or domain specific. Since microprocessor does not contain built-in I/O port, hence I/O port functionality has to be implemented using the PPI chips called as 8255. It is parallel peripheral interface IC. Here microcontroller does not require that because it comes with some inbuilt ports, maybe 3 or 4. Then microprocessors are targeted for high-end market where performance is important, whereas microcontrollers are targeted where the high-end performance is not so important. Microprocessors are having limited power saving options, whereas microcontrollers are having lot of power saving options. Then we'll discuss digital signal processors. See, these are the powerful special purpose 8 or 16 or 32-bit microprocessors. They are designed to meet the computational demands and power constraints of embedded audio, video and communication applications. DSPs are 2 to 3 times faster than the general purpose microprocessors because of its architectural difference. DSP implement algorithms in hardware which speeds up the execution, whereas general purpose processor implement the algorithm in the software. And the speed of the execution also depends on the clock of the processor. DSP includes following key points. First is the program memory, which is used for storing the program required by the DSP. Data memory, which is a working memory, temporary memory for storing the variables temporarily. Then it is having computational engine, which is responsible for performing signal processing, which has arithmetic units and operates simultaneously many arithmetic units to increase the execution speed. It also has multiple hardware shifters for shifting operates, hence saves the execution time. It has I/O unit, that is input or output unit, which acts as the interface between the digital signal processor and the outside world. This input or output unit is responsible for capturing signals to be processed and delivering the results to the output devices. The examples of DSPs are audio video signal processing, telecommunication, and multiple applications, real-time calculations, sum of products calculation, convolution, fast Fourier transform, discrete Fourier transform. These are the examples. Then we'll discuss the RISC and CISC processor. See, the RISC is a reduced instruction set computing, whereas CISC is a complex instruction set computing. RISC is having lesser number of instructions, CISC is having greater number of instructions. RISC supports instruction pipelining, hence execution speed increases. Instruction pipelining in the sense, see, we are having fetching phase, decoding phase, executing phase, and storing phase. Out of these 4 pages will operate sequentially. If we are doing 2 things at a time, then we call it as a pipelining. So that pipelining can be done in the RISC, but we cannot do it in the CISC. Then the instructions are orthogonal in the RISC. It means that they operate on any register and with any addressing mode, whereas the instructions are not orthogonal in the CISC. It means that they are not operated on all the registers and using all the addressing modes. Here in the RISC, operations are performed on registers only, but to access the data from the memory, we need to go for load and store operation. Whereas in the CISC, we can perform the operations on registers as well as memory. Then RISC, a larger number of registers are available. Here the lesser number of registers are available. RISC programmer needs to write more code to execute a task since the instructions are simple ones. Here the instructions are complex. Programmer need not to write more code. He can do it using a simple code to execute the complex task. The instructions are single in the RISC and they are of fixed length, wherein CISC they are variable length. Then in the RISC, less silicon usage and pin count, more silicon usage and pin count in the CISC. RISC comes with Harvard architecture, CISC comes with Harvard or Von Neumann architecture. Now we'll discuss what is that Harvard and Von Neumann architecture. Look at the diagrams. The left one is the Von Neumann architecture, where a single shared bus is used between the CPU and the memory, whereas in the Harvard, 2 separate buses are used between the CPU and program memory and data memory. See the difference. Harvard architecture, separate buses for instruction and data fetching. Here single bus for instruction and data fetching. Easier to pipeline, high performance can be achieved. Low performance because of not pipelining. Comparatively of high cost, it is cheaper. No memory alignment problems. Here there is a memory alignment problems. Since data memory and program memory are stored physically in different locations, there are no chances of accidental corruption of program memory. Here both are present in the single memory. There is a chance for accidental corruption of program memory. Then we'll see big endian versus little endian. Endian specified the order in which the data is stored in the memory by a processor, that is when we are having multi-byte data. Suppose the word length is 2 bytes, then the data can be stored in memory in 2 different ways. High order byte of the data can be stored in the higher memory location, and low order byte of the data can be stored in the lower memory location, or low order byte of the data at the higher memory location and high order byte of the data at the higher memory locations. See here, little endian means low order byte of the data is stored in the lower memory locations and high order byte of the data is stored at the higher memory location. See the example wherein I have 4 bytes, byte 0, byte 1, byte 2, byte 3. 4 memory locations are shown: 2000, 20,000, 20,001, 20,002 and 20,003. See here, byte 0 is stored at the 20th memory location. Byte 1 is stored at 20,001, byte 2 at 20,002, byte 3 at 20,003. It means lower byte is stored in the lower memory location, higher byte is stored in the higher memory location. This is called as a little endian. Opposite of this is called as a big endian. See, Byte 3 is stored at 20,000 memory location. Byte 2 is stored at 20,001 memory location. Byte 1 is stored at 20,002 memory location. Byte 0 is stored at 20,003 memory location. It means higher byte is stored at the lower memory location and lower byte is stored at the higher memory location. Load store operation and instruction pipelining. Whenever we want to access the data from the memory, then we have to do it by using only two type of instruction. They are load and store. Load is for taking the data from the memory into the registers of the CPU, whereas store is storing the data from the registers into the memory. Here the example is shown wherein we are performing memory operations. That is, suppose x, y and z are memory locations and we want to add the contents of x and y result in location z. How do we do it? See here. First instruction is load r1 comma x. X is a memory location from which we are taking the data and loading into r1 register. Load r2 comma y. Y is another memory location. From that memory location we are taking another data and loading into the r2. Add r3 comma r1 comma r2. Two data taken from two memory locations are present at r2 and r1. We are adding the content of r2 to the content of r1. That result we are storing back into the r3 register. Then store r3 comma z. See here, z is the memory location. The result of the addition is present in the r3 register. I am storing that into the memory location pointed by z. See, this operation requires 4 operations to be performed. Then we'll move on to the instruction pipelining of instruction pipelining. As I have already told, actually any processor or controller follows fetch, decode, execute and storing sequence. Fetching is taking the instruction from the memory. Decoding is decoding that instruction into the sequence of operations to be performed. Then executing is performing those operations. Storing means after performing the result I have to either give it to the input output outside world, or I have to store it in the memory or in the registers. See, if we are doing two things at a time, then we call it as a pipelining. For example, when we are executing the first instruction, if we are fetching the next instruction, it means two things we are doing at a time. Or else when we are executing one thing and decoding the other thing, that is also two things we are doing at a single time. Look at the diagram. Here it is shown fetch PC, execute PC minus 1. PC is the program counter. When instruction pointed by PC minus 1 is executing, instruction pointed by PC will be fetched. That is in the first machine cycle. Look at the second machine cycle. When PC minus 1 instruction is getting executed, PC plus 1 instruction is fetching. This is in the machine cycle 2. Now look at the machine cycle 3. When instruction at PC is executing, PC plus 2 instruction is being fetching. If you look, this is happening at the machine cycle 3. If you look at the line, you can see that between the machine cycle 1 and machine cycle 2, two things, executing and fetching, are happening at a time. If you look between machine cycle 2 and machine cycle 3, you can see that again executing and fetching are happening at the two things are happening at the same time. So that is called as a instruction pipelining. It increases the efficiency of the processor. So remaining I will take up in the next video.